are listening to All Burgundy and Go Everything, powered by the Urban Sports Scene and Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM, Hopewell, Virginia. Your hosts are myself, Wole, Mo, and Glen. What's going on, fellas?
Hey, nothing much, man. It's fun times being a Commanders fan.
There's a lot of news, right? A lot of things
A lot of news
percolating.
going on.
We promised our listeners last week that we're going to talk about some coaches, and we're going to do that. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Mo, what's going on, my man?
Ain't much, man. Just ready to jump in and see what everybody thinks about the coaching hires.
Definitely. Hey, before we get into all that, let's get into the particulars. Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Just search All Burgundy and Go Everything. Also, tweet us at ABG_everything. Hit us up on IG at ABG_everything. I like our All Burgundy and Go Everything Facebook page. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our All Burgundy and Go Everything YouTube channel. All right, it's time for the pregame. Here's what we have on tap. Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus Washington Commanders reporter Donna Hopkins will join us to talk about the Commanders' new coaching hire. All right, let's jump her right in. Let's jump her right into the fray. Here we go. Got her. It's my buddy right here. One of my partners in crime. Right now,
all I have to say is
go ahead, Donna. Go ahead.
I'm honored to be back because I looked at that opening. I was like, okay.
You gotta get credit
to the stuff.
Hey, I give people flowers. You gotta get at the Glen. You gotta get at the Glen.
Hey Glen, you did a fantastic job. I mean, I haven't been on with you all for a minute, so this is the first time that I'm getting to see that spectacular open.
Yeah,
I like those guys. I mean, y'all taking it to another level like this coaching staff is.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Donna, you are something else. All right, man. We got Donna on this show. Y'all know what time it is, man. We got Donna. Y'all know what time it is. So, Donna, let's get into it. I mean, the Washington Commanders coaching staff is all set. You were in the building for the pressers. Let's start there with the presser with offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury and defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. What did you learn from the presser?
Yeah, I'll start with the offensive side of the ball with Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, he said all the right things. He's low key. He wasn't going to give you too much, but you can tell that Dan Quinn has brought in a quality group of coaches that have coached with each other before, so they can hit the ground running and they don't have to be stumbling over their own feet because they understand the process. And I think that that's what everybody has to look at is the group of coaches that they have assembled as far as the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator to start there is that they brought some guys that have some energy. Innovation. We talked about younger coaches that can move teams forward. And I think this is a group. Everybody had question marks at first, including myself, about the hiring of Dan Quinn, because I thought they were going to go with new, younger coaches. But being around these assistant coaches right now and Kingsbury and Joe Witt, I mean, maybe I'm wrong because Dan Quinn, they love him. They love what he brings to this organization. And they said he's a people's coach, a player's coach. So I think Kingsbury is going to bring new life to that offense. And he was talking about being balanced. And then I think the thing when I asked him about, what is his strengths that he believes that he brings here, and he's saying the ability to not think that he knows it all, that he's going to rely on if the other coaches can do things better and he wants to listen to them, that's what he's going to do. When have you ever heard that? That's because sometimes they are so stuck on their capabilities and their titles and everything that they're not going to reach out to other coaches. And that's what I'm hearing from this group of coaches. Kingsbury, he said he knows what he knows and that he does, and he's willing to learn. And he talked about going into looking at colleges and how they do things and how the pros do it, and then looking at how you can put this together to make it work for this Commanders team. And then Joe Witt came to the room, and you can feel his energy right off the bat. I was like, oh, yeah, he's going to be a good one. And I asked him, telling you, the energy right there was enough to make you excited because, what he said about the type of defense they're going to be, and then what he expects from the players. And I asked him about, being that they've been with Coach Quinn up in Dallas, and is this going to help jumpstart this defense and move it forward quicker? And he said, absolutely. And the thing that I think people have to realize, he said, it's not going to be the Dallas defense. It may be some pieces from that, but you're not going to see that. When they went there, you didn't see that. So I think that they're saying all the right things, and we know how that goes, but it comes down to saying it and then materializing it on the field. And I think that he also said something about developing the younger players. And he said most of the time, everybody's just looked to develop and as far as the starters, but they're going to have coaches that's coaching these other guys so that when it comes time for them to step on the field, they'll be ready. So it's not just about the starters or the next group of guys, but it's the whole roster that they're going to develop and so that they'll be ready come time to play. So I loved everything that they had to say, because I think that they bring new life to this organization in just how they're approaching things right now.
So they won you over, basically. They won you over.
Oh, it's hard to win me over.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
To win me over. But because I'm looking at the coaching staff that's been here for years, with Ron Rivera regime, with the Scott Turners and the Jack Del Rios and that whole group that he brought along. But he bought friends too. But when you look at Dan Quinn and the coaches that he bought, they've been with winning organizations, with the San Francisco 49ers, with the Philadelphia Eagles, with some of the other teams. You brought in head coaches, assistant head coaches, guys that have been head coaches. You brought in a mixture of all those things. When you look at Ron Rivera, he didn't bring in that mixture of guys that were true winners with other organizations or had that skill set, or even back before Ron Rivera, some of the other coaches. So when you look at the coaches that are here in Washington right now, you've got to be excited about finally you look at people that can basically get the job done. And everybody's saying, is there too many Eagles in the room? I don't think so, because these guys have been head coaches, and head coaching is a hard pill. But Dan Quinn reminds me of Joe Gibbs to a certain degree. When Joe Gibbs came in here, he looked at for his first year, he made some changes, and then he brought in coaches that could move the team forward in Joe Buchel and Richard Pettibone, and the list of coaches goes on and on. That's kind of like what I'm seeing right now with Dan Quinn. And I told you, it's hard to sell me a pill.
I know, but that's real hard.
I'm telling you, this is what I'm seeing right now is back when Joe Gibbs, when I was back there with that era, and now when I'm seeing this is the first time that I can say in a long time that they put some coaches in place that can possibly take this team forward, and not overnight, but it's not going to take forever either.
I think they didn't change the world right now. They got Donna kind of optimistic. Jeez, I ain't never think out here. Usually Donna like I'm gonna wait and see this in camp. Donna out here like you spitting some positive vibes. Now I know they're doing something right because they got you. Now I know they're doing something right.
Hey Wally, because it's not like a Scott Turner that comes here and he's never coached, been an offensive coordinator. When you talk about all these coaches that they assemble here, they've been coaches and doing this. Either they were a head coach, they were a defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. They were actually in the trenches and not learning on the fly, which that's a lot of coaches that Ron Rivera brought in here that was learning on the fly or was way past their time. That's the reason why I said that I don't have to sit back and say, I'm going to wait and see. But I think that they've already showed you on their resume with other teams that they won with those other teams, and they're bringing that knowledge here. And they talked about that, getting to know the players personally as individuals before they get to know them as the players. Whenever you heard them say, Anthony Lynn told me today, I'm going to take the running backs out to dinner to get to know them personally. Whenever you heard that being said, and that's what a lot of the other position coaches were talking about.
Go ahead, Glenn. Go ahead.
I think that's the high school concept of it. And I want to say this when I say high school concept of it. When you build relationship with players, and we have a relationship with players, players would do things for you. They'll go that extra mile. They'll lay out for that catch because, again, you know them as a personal level, not more just a business level. And I think they're doing the right job by getting to understand the personnel that was here. And I think the last regime didn't really understand the personnel. I can even go say Gruden really didn't understand the personnel, right? When you understand your personnel, what you have, and also, we talked about it last week, free agency. I'm taking people out because I need to know who fits in this program, who fits in this system, what kind of character you are. If you got that dog in you, the way that you converse us at dinner, how you deal with some things, and I can lay my expectations out. It's the off season, so I'm laying expectations out so you can get yourself ready to know what it looks like when we go to OTAs, when the draft happens, if you get picked up in free agency. So I think when these coaches are coming in, and I think you made a key point too. A lot of them are head coaches or former coordinators. They understand the business. They come from winning teams, organizations. They have a standard. We can say this, and we talked about this all the time on this show. There was no standard on Ron Rivera, right? How many times did this team come out flat before the beginning of the game? And we see it. I think there will be a different standard here, and I think the energy will come forth because people feed off coaches. If coaches bring energy, right, team will have energy. Look what Pete Carroll did in Seattle. They fed off of Pete Carroll's energy because this was the type of person. Even in Alabama, they understood what Nick Saban was about and how to maneuver. He didn't have to be a rah-rah yell coach, but they feed off the energy. And I think this coaching staff shows a little bit of energy. And I like that they meeting the players and getting personal before they even get into football.
Were you in the interview today when I was interviewing these coaches? Because you hit on everything that they said about first you got to get to know the player, and the player has to get to know the coach too, because you got to know individuals' characters. And these players, they said, the coaches said to me, is that they don't care about who you are. They don't care about you to coach anybody. They don't care about your credentials as far as Super Bowl wins or a player, you as a player and whatever. They want to know you as a person. Do you care about them? And all the coaches were talking about, about caring for the players as individuals, because how are you going to make them be able to get on the field and play if they don't know you or respect you as individuals, and vice versa and everything. So you must have been up there with the interviews, standing right beside me in my ear, because everything you said is what the coaches said about the player, getting to know the players personally as human beings before they even get to know them as the players. So you check.
Hey Mo, you on deck, bro.
What's the question?
No, anything you want to ask her before I go?
Oh.
I got something I want to ask her, but if you want to go next, you can.
I didn't want to skip the line.
All right, okay. Let me go. I do got.
Hey, Mo, you at the top of the line. Come on.
I didn't want to, just because he had something to say.
No,
I want to dive into something that we talked about before we started recording, but also you kind of mentioned a little bit. You got an opportunity today to talk to some of these coaches, and I kind of want to get your vibe on who stood out to you, who impressed you the most. Like something like, in terms of just position coaches, doesn't even have to be the coordinators, but like the position coaches or assistant coaches, like who stood out to you?
Yeah, people asked me that today. They said, "Hey, who was your favorite person that you interviewed?" And I was like, okay, see, everybody's trying to call me.
It might be a coach right now. It's probably a coach right now.
But, I know everybody's trying to get the scoop and everything, but
I know, right?
yeah, I know. It's almost like I've been on the phone or doing something since I got home, editing tape, calling, people want to know. But I told them that literally everybody was good I talked to today. Mm-hmm. I mean, Brian Johnson, he's going to be the assistant head coach for the offense. He was with the Giants, and I was talking to him about, the command, looking at the offensive line, the way they play, and the Giants, they gave up, I think, 85 sacks, and I thought the Commanders gave up the most, which was 65. And, I talked about just how did they see this offense and the offensive line and building that offensive line. And he had such good nuggets that he dropped about just looking at what they've got right now and understanding that the process of and how you build offensive line and get them ready. And he said that he wants them to be physical something that we didn't see much of for a long time, you know, a physical offensive line. And I asked him, did they have the pieces on the offensive line right now that they could move forward with what they've got? And he was talking about the teaching. Now, he didn't let me in so much to say, hey, you know what? I think we got the pieces, but you could tell it was like, okay, we got some pieces to build, you know, this team with. And a lot of faces you saw last year are not going to be here. So they know that they've got their work cut out for the offensive line in building that. And he was talking about, you know, the offensive line, the players get hurt. So you've got to have depth there where you got people that can step in right away and pick up the slack, which Washington, that's been one of their weakest areas for the longest time. It's for their offensive line. So when you look at what Kingsbury and then Johnson was talking about, you know, with the Giants, I mean, he said a lot of great things in building this offense to be more balanced too. You know, the run, the pass. But I know that they're still assembling, trying to figure out, understand with the draft coming up, how do they build that offensive line? And this is the year that they should be able to do that with the draft picks, and the salary cap is sweet for this Commanders team right now. So he was one of the ones that I really enjoyed talking to, because I think he gave a lot of information about what is the offensive line in building that, in moving that forward, and hopefully not having to take too long to see that progress of what they want to. And then, you know, having that quarterback is going to be also key too. And who is that going to be? We don't know that either. But I mean, the offensive side of the ball has to get right too. And then I talked about Anthony Lynn, who's going to be the run game coordinator, going to be involved with that. And I asked him, did he have the running backs here right now in Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson? And we don't know. I told him we don't know if Antonio Gibson is going to be here, but he hopes that he does. And I said, what do you see in the running back? And he said that he thinks that he can work with what they've got there. He thinks that they're good backs. He said that he knows Brian Robinson for when he played in college. Can he get better? Of course he can. He said he talked about what type of back Brian Robinson was, but what he would like to see in him as far as improving his game also. So that's what I'm saying, that he said that he wants to take these guys out for dinner and get to know them. So I enjoy what he had to say. And, you know, he's been a head coach before. He understands what it takes, you know, to put a winning team together. So, you know, to have him there. And then you got Ingram that was here from last year that is back, one of the only few coaches that's back. And, you know, I think that he's looking to be with this new regime too, a fresh breath of air. I'm sure he's thinking about that. And then Bobby Johnson, offensive line, like I said, Brian John, Daryl Tapp. I enjoyed talking to him. He was here in 2013 with the Commanders, and I was talking to him about what he's looking for with that defensive line, with some of the pieces already put in place. And he talked about Dan Quinn again. I'm telling you, these guys love Dan Quinn and Joe Witt and what they're going to bring there. And he said again, they're going to be physical. We've seen them be that physical. They're going to be aggressive. And so I think that you're going to like to see what's going to happen with that defense. I think that they were underachievers. We all know that last year for sure. Maybe they were in the wrong defense, and definitely it's probably the wrong coaching. But I think that you're going to see them turn the pages. And I asked, you know, Jason Simmons, that's going to be over the secondary. I said, you know, they underachieved with the talent that they've got. And he said that they do have. Now, Cam Curl, are they going to re-sign him back? We got Fuller, who is a free agent. So what are they going to do there? And then he talked about, you know, Emmanuel Forbes and that young group also in developing them. So I think that they got a lot of key pieces put together. So although Ken Norton, you know, a linebacker, and, you know, me, I think that's one of the areas that really needs to be addressed is their linebacker play. And what better person to come in here where, you know, he's won, 2 or 3 Super Bowls. And I told him about his dad being a knockout himself as far as bringing the heavy load. So you got all of those weapons right there. So like I said, talking to all those coaches I just mentioned, they gave some insight as far as what they're looking for to bring with their strengths, and also what they expect out of these players. And this is one time that these players that were crybabies, did I say that again? Crybabies with Eric Bieniemy working them hard. You better wipe a tear up right now, because if they thought Eric Bieniemy was going to be tough on them, I think that they're going to have another group of tough coaches that's going to require them to get on that field and play ball and not make excuses. And I think that the players are going to see a different style of coaching that they can relate to, that's going to put them in a winning situation. So I like I said, this is the most I've been excited about what I've seen with the coaching staff and what they said to me. I was like, okay, I can get on this page also.
Donna, I think to your point, I think this is a good mix as a coaching staff. When you think about the number of guys that have been head coaches in the past, you think about the number of guys that have been the lead assistant, and then element of this coaching staff that I really like is the former players that are part of the coaching staff, right? The Ryan Kerrigans, the Daryl Tapps, you have
Bobby
McFadden. You have Bobby
Ingram.
You got McFadden. They used to play. Is it McFadden? No, not McFadden. Is it McFadden? I believe. No, it's not McFadden. Played for Pittsburgh Steelers. William Gay.
Yeah, William
Gay. So they have a good mix of players, former players that can probably, I believe, resonate with the younger players, that can share some experiences with them, and not have that like coach situation, but yet a big brother, right? A big brother that can come in and help sort through, the moments in the season that are shaky or that are where you just need to hear another voice, right?
Yeah.
I think they have a good collection of coaches that's going to come in and it's going to actually teach. I think that's a missing factor in coaching in 2024 in NFL, like actually teaching, not just scheme, but like individual skills, like honing a lot of these young players' skill sets so that they improve gradually, like a winning program should, right? I think there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? I think there's a lot of culture building that's required here for this staff that we're going to see unfold when OTA start, and once this roster gets assembled and starts to get complete, that I think that they have the right people on. You talk about Dan Quinn Falls from the Pete Carroll tree. You know how they feel about competition in Seattle. He took some of that over to Atlanta. They had success in Atlanta. We talk about how he lets players play how they play. He doesn't play them out of position. We've seen that with Trayvon Diggs and how he emerged. And
Micah.
Let him play. You see what he did with Deron Bland this year. It's like a carbon copy of what Diggs did the year prior and whatnot. So I think that bodes well for an Emmanuel Forbes, who's a major asset to this defense, being the number 1 pick last year. You talk about Martin, that didn't get much playing time last year, and seeing what he can do, but being a high value pick. You talk about the Alabama Wall in the middle, hearing a new voice and being pushed to new limits, whoever they bring in on the ends. But Ken Norton Jr. at the linebacker, right? At the linebackers coach. I think that his experience, his championship medal, his coaching portfolio, I think that's going to have the biggest effect on this team, because we know that linebacker has been a sore spot for a number of years now. Right, for a number of years, and so I think it gives a lot of fans a lot to be hopeful for. Like we know Glen is excited to get this season cracking. Everything
they brought in 20 coaches, which is probably the most that
it's a big staff
in any organization. And when they talk about they brought in, and the way they're going to get together, and because when you think about every coach that they brought in, they've got experience. They didn't bring in that. I mean, they really fairly thought the coaches through they were going to put on this team. It wasn't just like most coaches that say, "Oh, you're my friend. I'm going to just bring you. But it had to fit. All the pieces of this puzzle, as far as the coaching staff, had to fit. And it's going to be important for when they are coaching these players up, developing these players, game situation, film situation, where all these coaches, they said, is going to have a say. It's not just going to be you're on you're part of the coaching staff. You don't really have much to say, because you know how that goes. You're a coach, but you don't have any real input. But what they were saying, every coach that I talked to, whether it was Dan Quinn, whether it was Kingsbury, Witt, and all of them, and even the assistant coaches, every coach is going to have a voice. And that's the first time that probably happened in the development of this team, moving it forward, practice, OTAs, game situation. Everybody has an important voice as far as these coaches. And that's what I kind of like heard, and they resonated over and over. That's the reason why I think that they put this group together.
And to that point, I think another thing that we're going to see that is heightened this year is situational football. You have head coaches that have had to think of every situation, right? So I think no stone gets unturned this year. I think the added element with the players, like I said, the Coach Gays, the Taps, the Brian Kerrigans of the world, I think they add this added element where they can teach two specific situations in a ball game that young players could benefit from, because they are listening to guys that have literally done it at a high level, right? That are within the last couple of 10 to 15 years of NFL football that they played, right? So I think all of those minds together, as you've alluded to, will come together, and it's going to be like the best gumbo in the world, right? You know, jambalaya, you throw everything in the pot, and they're gonna come out with perfection. I'm interested. I'm super interested in seeing how this plays out, because I think so much has been said about the Ron Rivera style, and we know the deficiencies that they had on defense with Jack Del Rio and the guys that have led the three main essential elements of football: offense, defense, special teams. And seeing a whole a widespread what would I call it? Seeing that they swept it up, they cleaned up everything, and they brought in new people in all places. I think it reinvigorates the locker room, right? It kind of gets the stains and all the I'm losing my words today, but like it kind of gets all the remnants, like the remnants of all the commanders of the past.
Yeah.
Like I said prior to, I said, like, because there was going to be wholesale changes that they needed to happen, and I think they've lived up to that so far. So Commanders fans should definitely be excited about.
You got a clean slate, is what you were saying.
Clean slate.
Clean slate.
Clean slate.
But I think one thing I like about this, and I'll be that guy, and I'll be that person. Y'all can at me at real good time. There's a lot of black coaches on the staff, and that's what I
was going to say that, but I held it back.
No, I'm not holding it back. I'm gonna be what it is. There's a lot of black African American coaches on the staff, and that's what I like to see.
No, I love it too.
Black History Month, baby.
Yeah,
Black History Month. You always bet on black. But again, African American coaches on here, and I think this team can move forward. If this team is not on Hard Knocks, the NFL and whoever runs Hard Knocks is missing the boat, because this is the most intriguing thing people want to watch in the offseason. Think about it: a new head coach, new owner. They got the number 2 draft pick in the pick in the draft. You may get Caleb Williams, you may get Drake May. You talk about must-see TV in the offseason. I'm not saying it because I'm a Commanders fan, whatever the case may be, but look at all the pieces that goes in this place. When you talk about Magic Johnson on TV, you talk about Josh Harris, you talk about all the people there. This is must-see TV. If this team does not get Hard Knocks this year, the NFL is missing a boat, because this will be the most watched Hard Knocks there will be if this team needs to be on Hard Knocks. Because this
and
right
you got Wally over there just rubbing his chin and smiling, and he just almost like wanting to spill out.
Yeah, what you do? All you gotta do is throw Magic Johnson, Don. You know what time it is.
That's done right there. You already had me on board right there.
Yeah, it makes money and is intriguing. But I think one of the coaches that I like to see, I like Brian Johnson on this team, on his coaching staff. I think Brian Johnson, we saw what he did with the Philadelphia Eagles a couple years ago. I know that he got blamed towards the end of the season for his play calling with the Philadelphia Eagles, but can we be honest? It wasn't the offensive play calling. Coach has been doing it for years. The Philadelphia defense wasn't the same. Their defense wasn't the same as it was.
Or their offense.
Or the offense wasn't the same. But to see the quarterback, whoever the quarterback may be, for him to be a quarterback coach, whoever the running backs may be, I think you're going to get a wealth of knowledge from this staff. Young guys developing, learning how to win, what it takes to be successful. And what I think the biggest thing we talk about, being held accountable, right? Being held accountable for their actions, being held accountable for what they did and not do. I think Ken Norton, like I mentioned, being a linebackers coach, Jamin Davis being with Ken Norton may enhance his game if he's around, right? We still got this court situation. Jamin Davis, we got to worry about if he's around. But again, it would enhance what he can do as a linebacker. So you can look at a lot of things with this team that can move in a right direction and can move forward, right? And so which is exciting. And I like the diversity of the staff. But again, all the African-American coaches who are on this staff, I think will make a difference as well.
I think I love the addition of Anthony Lynn. Being a former head coach with the Los Angeles Chargers, I felt like he was unjustly relieved of his duties after Justin Herbert's rookie year. How you go 7-9 with a rookie quarterback that threw over 4,000 yards and broke a NFL record for touchdowns his rookie year, and you lose your job is beyond me. But
same way Lovie Smith lost his job at 10-6.
Don't get me started on Lovie Smith.
Don't get me started on those coaches.
Don't get me started on those. So
we know how this system works.
And to me, I think the balance that this team covets with the run game, him being over the running backs, I think goes a long way, because with his head coaching experience and being overseeing what Christian McCaffrey just did the past year and a half in San Francisco, I think he brings a wealth of knowledge in terms of run schemes and blocking schemes that can work in addition with the offensive line coach that best suit these running backs. Him having a relationship with Brian Robinson prior to coming here or knowing about him from Alabama goes a long way. And then in the draft, because I do assume that there will be a running back added to this roster from the draft, sniffing out and finding the guys that fit this mold and the scheme that they're going to run, and having one of their own to cultivate and bring up, and to split carries with Brian Robinson to relieve each other and play off of each other, kind of have like a thunder and lightning type of situation. I think is going to really, really benefit this team, especially if that number 2 pick is going to be a young quarterback that's going to need some what are we going to say? That's going to need some protection, figuratively and literally, right? In terms of the offensive line and the running back, making his job a lot easier. So that I'm pretty sure play action is going to be a big part of this offensive scheme, or RPO for depending on who they put back there center. So I'm looking forward to seeing Anthony Lynn's effect on this team, especially since he has one of the more prominent players on offense that he's going to be coaching directly.
So Donna, this is like
already said that it's going to be play action. So he's already said that it's going to be play action, a little bit of mix and everything. But I think you hit on the running back because you got Brian Robinson that is a certain type of running. He's going to get you that. You've got Antonio Gibson if he's still here. But I think you need that wiggle guy. But we forgot about Rodriguez. We didn't mention Rodriguez because Rodriguez, to me, it brings in that other element that was not always seen when he was on the field. Peterson, we would love to have that type of back, but I think they've got 3 different types of backs already in here: Rodriguez, Antonio Gibson, and Brian Robinson, because they all add something different. Now you got a guy that's coming in here that can fine-tune that will a little bit more to possibly bring out what we haven't seen in all 3 of those backs. And with Rodriguez, he's the newer one. I mean, he'll be going into his 2nd year. So I think that they probably will draft a running back on down the line, 2nd, 3rd round. But all I know is they better get some offensive linemen, 3 at max. I know the quarterback's be the main guy first of all, but I'm telling you, those offensive linemen 1, 2, 3 in that line. It got to be for me and a linebacker, because to me, those are the critical positions right now on this team. Is the quarterback, put Sam Howell back on the chef. Jacoby Brissett, we haven't even mentioned him. Does he come back, being that this new regime, or does he want to be considered as a starting quarterback? Or, you know, whatever quarterback they draft, that they're going to put him in, that we want you to start right away? Or would Jacoby be that guy that you say, well, you know what, to just have that safety right there, maybe we start and develop these guys? I don't know how they're going to play all that out, but what do you do with a Jacoby Brissett? Do you consider bringing him back, or does he want to come back?
No, it's definitely interesting. Definitely an interesting situation. I want to go back to something you talked about earlier, because he got a lot of hate, you know, on social media. A lot of people are real negative on him. And Emmanuel Forbes, and you talk about Simmons. I'm really interested to know what Simmons had to, like. You don't have to go in detail, you got to do your own thing, but like, what was his thought of Emmanuel Forbes? Does he view him as a guy that could be a Pro Bowl caliber cornerback, or a guy that, you know, he just wants to get to know?
Yeah, I think it's too early right now to really say what kind of player he's going to be until you come in and put your stamp on things, to get to know him better as a individual person, to kind of like see him a little bit more under your scheme versus under a scheme that was already broken. You know, I think that it's too early for Simmons to address that, because he was talking about trying to get to know the players too, and what they need. You know, he talked a little bit about the secondary and their underachieving and what he expects out of that group. But he likes Emmanuel Forbes. I think that he thinks that he can be a better player than what we saw in his first year. But I think it's too early to say, can he be a caliber player as far as a Pro Bowl player, that type of player? It's hard to say yet until you come in and have him in your scheme and see how he matures and develops in that. And can you see the growth? Can you calm him down and develop his game? Because we all know that even though coaches may have not been great last year, that they did, you know, see some things in him that he needs to get better at as far as his development. Even Daryl Green last year, in assessing Emmanuel Forbes, and he said that he would like to even work with him, but he said his footwork is not really good, and, you know, being balanced out there, you know, being in position with his body and everything, that wasn't good. And we all saw that in ourselves. Can they coach him up to be better than what we saw last year in his second year with this new coaching group? I'm curious to see. So I think, Wally, right now it's just a wait and see of what they can do in developing him, and not, you know, jumping ahead to say, can he be that player, you know, that all-star player and all that is yet to see right now. And that's just to say that, you know, I think that this is one time that they're going to put players in position that they should be in, because Benjamin St. Juste, to me, in the last couple of years has not been in his right true position. I mean, like a year before he was, and then they switched him all around last year because of depth and not having him in the right position than the other guys. So I think that once he gets into his true position, you're going to see him shine again, and a lot of other players. Now, Kendall Fuller, do you move him to play more safety? And like I said, do you bring a Cam Curl back? Because I don't think that he achieved his true potential in that defense either. So can they make him be even better in the position if they decide if he's worth the ticket that he's probably going to require to have him sign back? So it's a lot of twists and turns as far as that defense, secondary, and what they look at in the draft. And Peters have basically said that he builds his team through the draft. But I hope they bring in some free agencies, you know, to help the draft, because that means that we can move forward a little quicker in building this team versus the draft, because you got so many draft picks, although they've got quite a few this year, but they can't build this team right now this year just with the draft picks. without
Sure.
agencies.
Donna, I think it's only up from here for Emmanuel Forbes, right? I think being played out of
It has to
position,
be.
playing under Jack Del Rio,
He did
and
work.
just like this, it was really bad last year. What happened to that young man? Playing him, pulling him early, pulling him for making mistakes as if he wasn't a rookie. When you know you're playing him the wrong way, he's not playing the way that you saw on film in college. I think that was an indictment on the coaching staff rather than him. He's a young man. Yes, he needs to put on a little bit of weight, probably to suffice for most people. And I'm pretty sure he'll get that under control. And I'm pretty sure all the footwork ailments, all of that is just skill-based training, you know. And a lot of the times coming out of college, coming into the NFL, you're just worried about that combine, right? You're not working on like super individual skills. You're working on like athletic prowess, like jumping far, jumping high, running fast. Not necessarily sound technique, especially when you come to an organization like the Commanders, whose coaching staff on the defensive side, in the secondary, and with the defensive coordinator, kind of was confused as to how they're going to play this, right?
Yeah, but I'm not
Well,
going
they
to
brought
get
in a
Forbes.
rookie. They brought in a rookie coach. As far as when they got rid of Chris, and they brought in this guy that had just coached high school, had no clue how to adjust at halftime, had no clue how to coach people up. So right there,
Right.
Emmanuel Forbes and many of the other guys were set up for failure because the coaching staff wasn't good enough to develop this team. Now, Emmanuel Forbes, to me, hopefully during the offseason, he has gone and started working on his craft. But you know, with what had happened to him, like you said, is that after a while it got into his head that he began to think too much instead of just play the game. He was thinking too much out there, and he said it was tough on him. But you know, the coaching staff got, you know, they could have had Gonzalez as far as the guy that should have been drafted. Emmanuel Forbes probably wasn't on anybody's. Yeah, no, he wasn't on anybody's radar, but not to say that he wasn't a good player, but he did get pushed around a lot. I mean, I saw bigger guys and just kind of like blow him off. So he's got to get the weight on, and also his footwork getting better is going to help him because it's going to have him in position and not get beat, because he was getting turned all the way around as far as some of those veteran receivers. So I think that this coaching staff, the way that they put it together, again, it's going to be able to basically see what they've got, bring out what they can in these players to see if they've got that. So the OTAs and all of those things is going to be interesting moving forward once these guys, you know, get on there, because as the coaches told me, as coaches, they're just getting to know each other before they go out and start getting with the players.
Yeah, I think Forbes, some of Forbes' issue was he was around the ball. He took chances. I mean, you go look at some of the chances that he took. He dropped 3 interceptions early on in the season. It didn't help his confidence as well. So a lot of things, some of it is self-inflicted, some of it is coaching. And so I think it will get a little bit better. I have a question to ask you,
Glenn,
Don.
that's his game, though, Glenn. That's what he put on film at Mississippi State.
Yeah,
that's what made him.
Hey, but he's in the NFL. He's in the NFL. You can't take those chances.
That's what made him. That's his bread and butter. That's what made him.
I feel like
in college. You can't.
Yeah,
you can't have 170. Go ahead.
But you can take those chances of getting burnt, right? Let's see. Look at the Philadelphia game. That's the game everybody say benched him when he got exposed, right? If you take those chances and you get benched or against one of the top receivers in the league, you're gonna have to change your style. I know what you played in college, but this is not college.
Okay, but Glenn,
no. So let me jump in, Mo. Let me jump in, Mo.
The weight was good. Now you got to get your weight up, because guess what, young fella, you can get pushed around.
So this is what I'm talking about. This is why, to what Donna's saying, you can still be a guy to take chances and be like that. So I'm gonna give you an example. I'm gonna get guys who've been highly successful in the league that's been doing that. Terrell Buckley, who used to be back in the day, was like that. Got a lot of picks. You do deal with it. Diggs is like that. Diggs is like Sonny Samuels. Diggs is like that. You don't have to change it if you coach it correctly. If you coach to their skill set, you can still be that person, because it's still high risk, high risk, high reward. Glenn, it really is. Like, you got guys that play that style, but win you football games. I get what you're saying, Glenn. You want to like change, like get out of your system. But if that makes you great, though, if that's what makes you good,
right?
You don't want to take that away from him.
I'm not taking away that the chances. What I'm saying is you have to realize this. At every level, it changes, right? At every level, the athletes are different. Their bodies are stronger. They're bigger, right? So therefore, you have to hone your game based off who you play. You're going to play CeeDee Lamb twice, right? You're going to have to match up and handle that business, right? You're going to play Brown twice, right? Or Smith on the other side, right? Devontae Smith, right? You're going to have to do that. So you got to understand that I may have help behind me, so I may take the chances. What happened was he didn't know what he had behind him. Sometimes I don't think he understood the defense where he was at, and that's why.
But sometimes that wasn't just it. See, I mean, sometimes so that for that, sometimes that he wasn't wrong. Sometimes he was supposed to have help. Like that's the thing. Like sometimes he was. We seen the secondary, the safeties all confused.
Right, and that goes to Donna's point. That goes to Donna's point.
That was coaching.
That's coaching.
Let me tell you something else that's coaching, Glenn. Let me tell you something else that's coaching. You see a kid that's 175 pounds soaking wet, and you have him press AJ Brown. Good luck. And then when he gets fried on national TV, everybody's mad at him. That's never been his game. That's never been his game. He's a line up 7 yards off the ball, one inside shade, play through the receiver and the quarterback. That's the kind of guy he is. That's what we saw on film through college. If you're going to draft him, play him that way. This organization has done it time and time again. They went and got William Jackson from Cincinnati, a press man corner, played him here off the ball. That's why he wasn't good here. They did it with Josh Norman coming from the cover 3 in Carolina. Came here, made him press man. Wonder why he's getting thrown around and fighting OBJ on national TV. Like, that's not good coaching. That's not good coaching. You do not get players that do not have the skill set and put them in your system if your system doesn't match what they do. If you're going to draft them, do what they do most and then live with the results when they do mess up because you know what you put them out there to do.
I understand. I totally understand that. I'm not saying it was not coaching. What I'm saying is a little mixture of both.
I agree with that. Forbes is not
as a young guy with confidence, he has to learn some things. And I think with the new coach that he'll learn some tricks. He got guys like Darryl Green try to work with him. He'll understand the NFL way of playing corner. And that's all I'm saying. Not that I don't agree that he won't be a decent player, but there's a certain time and certain place for certain things. And when you start pressing, because you start messing up, you start pressing more. And when you start pressing more, then you make more mistakes. And that's one of the reasons why I agree with the benching at the time, because he was pressing too much. Trying to please.
I'm also pressing because you're taking me out every other play too.
Yeah, but the other thing is you've got to be a student of the game too, because you've got to be in that classroom studying those films, because if you're up against AJ Brown and some of the other great receivers, you got to be able to watch what they're doing. And I don't know if he was in the classroom enough, because that's something you can't coach. That's something that if you're in the film room and really putting that time in to study your opponent, the guys that you're going to be going up against. So I think it's a little bit of both of what all of you all are saying, is that Emmanuel Forbes was bought here because of the style of play. But the thing about it is, if you're going to be a great player, you've got to be able to adjust your game to what's being called. And this is that these coaches that's coming in right now with this Commanders group is that I believe that you look at your talents and all of those things right there, because these coaches said that we're going to play physical. You're going to know that we're going to bring it to you. You're not going to be playing 5 and 10 yards off the ball as far as these cornerbacks. So Emmanuel Forbes is going to have to learn how to play and jam receivers, and he's going to have to play up, and he's going to have to be able to move his feet to get in position. So it's a combination of him getting better as a player to elevate his game. So he was this player in college, but now you're in the pros with these guys that are way better than what you ever saw in college. So you got to take your game to the next level this year. Being the jerking of him off and on, that's just coaching, because they didn't know what they were doing. So they were trying to understand the process of all that. But any great player, and I'm going back to Magic Johnson, when they lost that championship that one year, and he didn't have that 3-point shot in his Arkansas. What did he do during the off season? He went back and perfected that 3-point shot, that when he came back the next year, he had put another element into his game. And all I'm saying about Emmanuel Forbes, and I think all of us are trying to say, is that he has to put another element at this stage, at this level, into his game if he's going to be better, because he's not going to put on 50 pounds. That's not his frame. But he's got to put on a little more muscle. So if you can't put on the muscle and the size, that means your skill set has to be better. Feet work and all of those things have to be better. Your thinking has to be better. You've got to read the play before they even say the play. So you got to be able to read that receiver and what he's doing, and you can be able to kind of like read the quarterback and all of that. So that's what I'm talking about. His game has to elevate in that prospect. That's something that not even coaching, it's just that you have to go to the next level in your game.
And I think he will do that this year. Let's not forget that cornerback is probably the second hardest position to play in the NFL, right?
And especially the rule change now.
I mean, and I definitely think he's going to improve. I think that the second year is going to be better than the first. But when you have a coaching staff that don't know what they want to do, and they're not playing consistent football week in and week out, and you're a rookie playing the second hardest position, you already had a deficiency with your weight. And the way that you play football is being taken and stripped away from you, kind of playing with one hand behind your back. I think that kid was done a disservice last year. I'm not even a Commanders fan, and I think that was a disservice to him last year. Just because that's how putrid the defense was last year. And then with the pass rush not being with the pass rush not being as stout as it was the year prior, that's another added element into him thinking he has to do more to capitalize. Then you're pulling the kids out of the game. They're getting on him on the sideline mid-game. The cameras are all over there because he's the number one. It was a lot of foolishness going on here last year, which is evident because the entire coaching staff is gone except for 2 or 3 people, right? So I think that he gets a fresh slate. I'm interested in seeing what he does, especially with the regime change and the guys that are going to be leading him, and him just having a year of experience in the NFL, and he could put that dark cloud of last year behind him, come back renewed this year, and be around some good guys and see what he can do with it. But I definitely think that his upside is going to show this year.
And Donna,
the coaches, let me just jump in right quick. The coaches did say that every player that's coming back this year, clean slate. They want them to forget everything. It's starting over. Don't care about last year, what you did, credentials or all that. Everybody is starting with a clean slate. And that's the message that they said that they're going to deliver to the player, is that this is new. So this is totally new. We don't want to talk about yesterday, last year, any of that stuff. Let's start with a clean slate moving forward.
I guess then I'll throw this question out there then, Wole. The last one. Can I?
No, Glen got a question first. Let Glen
jump
in.
My question, we talk about the coaching staff, right? And how they assemble this coaching staff. People calling it, the Avengers coaching staff for the NFL, all that other stuff. All right.
They calling that for real?
I love that.
I've seen a lot of things out there, man. I've seen a lot of things out there.
I love it. That's why.
My question is, how would EB have fit on this coaching staff? And could he have fit on this coaching staff?
Well, I think it's hard to say because everybody brings in different strengths, different styles and everything. If he would have fitted on this, they would have kept him because I think that the most important thing I like about this is Dan Quinn got the opportunity to assemble his coaches. And we haven't seen that for a long time. Mm-hmm. You want to bring in the people that you're comfortable with. And I think that if they thought that Eric Bieniemy would have fit in here with this team and everything, they would have kept him on as the offensive coordinator. So I'm not for sure, not taking anything from EB and his capabilities. I loved him as a coach, loved him as a person, but I don't think he would have fit with this group that's in here right now with the staff of coaches. And I think they all know each other to a certain degree of being coaching together in other places, Seattle, the 49ers and some of the other places. So I'm not for sure if, everybody doesn't fit in the same box. So there's no need to try to force that fit if it doesn't go, because It's almost like putting your foot in a shoe that that's too small, and you trying to squeeze it, and next thing you know, you got jacked up feet. So you don't want a team like that. So I think that the way they put this together moving forward, I think that they put together a complementary coaching group, and not saying anything about Eric Bieniemy, but I think that I don't know if he would have fit here, but I like the Avengers again. That's one of my favorite. I'm like a superhero, all of that. So I like that. I'm going to use that. The Avenger coaching staff. Is it too early to call them that? I kind of like.
I was about to say, Donna,
like
don't you start no mess in the city, Donna. I need you to go back to the Donna that I know. I need to see. I need proof.
I just said that. I said
now, Donna,
the Avengers yet, because they don't have that shield yet with the star on it. They don't have that
excitement.
Yet. They haven't saw the light.
Donna more like, so Donna, I ain't gonna lie to you. You like Lakers usually this way. You like, this is what Lakers like. Usually you to be the stern one. Lakers the one that be like so optimistic. You scared
but I'm
me,
right with them. You know what? I gave them the accolades of what I heard, but it's gotta be proof in the pudding. Look, I ain't seen no coach talk a game. I want them to see how it materializes first with the draft, and then also on down the line as far as wins and losses. That's what matters to me as far as W's. So the coaches, I love what they said and whatever, but that's just talk. And paper don't mean nothing to me. It's you got to have that crayons, a pencil, because you can take the eraser and erase that off. I'm pen and ink where you got solid proof.
There you go.
I want no pencils. I gotta have ink.
I'm gonna go ahead and throw the last question at you, Donna.
Trust me, fans, I haven't softened up. I just gave y'all the stuff that I heard today. But at the end of the day, I'm hard nosed. I better see some proof in the pudding. I gotta see that recipe to make sure that cake is baked good. Because otherwise, I don't want a flat cake that falls in the oven. I want one that rises up to be the winner.
Okay.
Speaking of needing to see it, right, I want to ask you this last question before we let you go. The Commanders kept Ryan Kerrigan as the pass rush specialist coach. They kept Tavita Pritchard as the quarterback coach and Bobby Ingram as a wide receiver coach. Based off of what we know about them with the prior regime, are you surprised that Dan Quinn kept them?
I was surprised that he didn't bring in all new people, but in the same breath, everybody doesn't get rid of the whole group. Ryan Kerrigan basically was new to. It's not like he was under that group, like that he was. I think he got his opportunity as a coach. But I like Ryan Kerrigan. I think he can bring some value to this, and I think that they like what they saw in him. They basically kept them after interviewing with them, and here they had to say. And I think that that's where it came into whether they were going to go and whether they were going to stay is what they said in those interviews what's important. So they sold themselves. It's almost like any interview that we go into looking for a new job and everything. How do you sell yourself? Do you have that passion? Do they see that passion? Do they see what they're trying to build with you? And I think that they saw some things in those three people that you spoke about. They saw some value in what they're trying to build here as a team. That's the reason why I think that they kept those guys, is that they fit into the puzzle to put the final pieces together. Because when you're trying to develop a quarterback that we probably is going to be what they get in that first draft, is that you got to keep people here that can develop that. And I think that you have all of those pieces there. So it was their interviews and them fitting what Dan Quinn is trying to build, because otherwise they wouldn't have been here.
Touché. I can't say I wasn't surprised about Ryan Kerrigan and Tavita Pritchard, but like Bobby Ingram, I kind of thought would stake around because of the Terry McLaurin factor, the relationship that's been built there, and as consistent as Terry McLaurin has been, I don't think you wanted to mess with that, and him being the most valuable asset on the offense, as it is today. So that's some good insight right there.
Yeah, Donna. Thanks for being on. Thanks, Donna. Appreciate you. Before
always good. You know what? I got to come on to see the new opening. I felt slighted. I felt like a little slighted that I wasn't one of the first ones on. You developed that new opening, and
oh wow, that's how we're going, Donna. You feel slighted. I
I'm telling you, this is the first time that I've been on with all three of you at one time.
Okay, well, yeah, because, Ray ain't here, so you ain't get all of us. You ain't get all of us.
Well, one is missing, but at least I got three. Exactly. Most of the time I get one or two, but I felt a little slighted. I felt like that I wasn't wanted by everybody.
Whoa, time out. You always wanted it, Donna. You gotta relax. You're always welcome. Don't do that, Donna.
Always welcome.
I'm just messing with you all. If I can't pick with y'all, nobody can.
I know, right? We know.
Hey, Donna, this is my favorite part. You know what I'm saying? So how can folks catch you on social media? And also,
you know what? Wally has made me be more active on X because I'm involved with that posting and everything. So he got me started, being out there. So it's Donna Hopkins underscore like that. Just put
Donna Hopkins underscore. Donna Hopkins underscore. Why do I know your handle?
Because I'm getting used to X a lot. And as far as IG is DJ Hop, and that's easy.
DJ Hop 32. DJ Hop 32. I know
32.
That
32.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Right. DJ Hop 32. And then on Facebook, Donna J. Hopkins. So there you go. Like, Wally, I ain't gotta say it. You can just shout it out. But I shout it out.
I'm about to.
I gotta say that he has me involved in X even more so. So you can thank him for that.
Gotta grow the brand.
I'm trying to grow. Look, Donna got dosed. Look, I told Donna this is the truth. Growing up, I used to watch Donna on TV, like covering this team. So I feel like, she's one of the local treasures out here. Like real talk. I'm not even blowing smoke. She's one of the local treasures in terms of covering this team. So I feel like she needs to be out there 24/7. Right. You got a whole new generation that don't know about the work you've been doing. Like you've been doing this before some of these people that like to tote their own horn. So I'm just saying, like, you should be out there. Folks need to know.
I appreciate the love. I feel all the love. They can catch me on Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus and a podcast in the minute where we have a lot of fun there. Yeah. So I've got if they want to catch all my interviews with the assistant coaches in the next day or so, it's going to drop so they can go to In the Minute and catch that. All the great things that the coaches said, you can hear all the tidbits. So again, I appreciate being on with you all. It's always fun. I've got a lot of laughs with you all.
Thank you all the time. Anytime, Donna. Anytime. You are very welcome. Don't even act like you're not welcome here. You're very welcome.
Always we got a new energy for you 2024, Donna.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Hey, before we close out, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Just search All Burgundy and Go Everything. Also tweet us at ABG_everything. Hit us up on IG at ABG_everything and like our All Burgundy and Go Everything Facebook page. Make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our All Burgundy and Go Everything YouTube channel as well. This has been a great show. We had the great Donna Hopkins on, Mo, Glen. We did the darn thing. We talked about some coaching hires like we promised y'all last week, so we got it done. Anyway, you've been listening to All Burgundy and Go Everything, powered by the Urban Sports Scene and Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. Hopewell, Virginia, 4 ages. You dig? Deuces. We out.